because it's through our capacity of conscious realization that we're able to connect to these forces of our own energy and heal them, these fractured parts of ourselves that may be, again, sort of building the momentum of our pain body and also creating our the energy of the spirit body, the etheric parts of our essence energy that is holding these traumas. So for me, when I saw it, my spirit was kind of black and it had these jagged edges to it. And when I noticed my spirit and my soul trying to interact together, because of these jagged sort of steps of energy, it's like things weren't really moving well. And so sometimes when, it's almost like a lot of times maybe in my decision making, I might do the opposite of maybe what would be in my best interest. Or I'll start going in a direction, but then maybe I self-sabotage. Or I save money, then I spend it all on something I don't need to spend it on. Or I am trying to do something good, in the world, but it ends up being something kind of messy or not of service. So it's like this jagged edge where no matter maybe this like part of me that's trying to do good and wanting to do better, on some level and has all this love to share, when the spirit with all these different levels of trauma come into it, it almost, it literally kind of sabotages our energy, right? And then that just builds more momentum to this pain body. And then when we get with somebody, the first thing we want to do, first of all, there's that opening of the heart and the love, right? But in a very short period of time, usually, we're going to start projecting the pain body out to another. But the interesting thing is that we take on their pain body too. It's like this exchange. I'm really inadequate over here, but this person has their own issue over here. And then the trauma bond gets set, and the trauma bonds match perfectly, until they don't, right? So they match perfectly until at some point, the soul's wisdom wants to come back into its own life force energy. It wants to heal something, and the trauma bond, where if you hold my pain body and I hold your pain body and we create this trauma bond together, and what happens is now we're here out of survival with one another, whether it's financial or children, or I don't want to be alone in the world. That's a really big one. That's one of mine. And we'll do this trauma bonding thing, but along with it comes judgments and criticisms and inadequacies and just anxieties and depressions. All these things come together with it, right? So it seems like a good idea at first. It's kind of more of a tribal concept where as a tribe, as a family, as a partnership, we're going to come together so that we can be stronger together in a sense, right? But in the process, we lose our sovereignty. We lose our individual presence of energy. And from there, we end up, eventually, the soul wants to heal. It will play out the very thing that you were trying to avoid in your pain body, the very thing in that trauma bond, right? So, oftentimes when you see people who have childhoods of mentally ill parents, alcoholism or any form of addiction, sexual abuse, or just broken families, divorces. So whatever your trauma is out of your childhood, including maybe even past life stuff you brought in, then you meet somebody that has, oh, this is my wound, this is my wound. And then when they come together, that creates the trauma bond. And you're literally, I will save you if you'll save me type of mentality. But again, this is conditional love, which means I'm going to save you, which is conditional love. It's the three triangle thing, right? I'm going to save you from yourself. And in saving you, I'm going to have to somehow be somewhat in control of your life. I'm going to have to, play something out with you. I'm going to have to kind of almost get in your soul's way of evolving. So then when you don't like that and you want your life force back, then all of a sudden you'll turn on the savior person, the person who's trying to heal. And then all of a sudden that person who's saving then feels like they're the victim. And then from feeling like they're the victim, essentially they're being accused of being the perpetrator. So basically it's the perpetrator, the victim, and the savior. And in a relationship, we play out all three. You're never just the savior. You're never just the perpetrator. You're never just the victim. You tend to play all three, and that's the basis of conditional love. So when you're playing out a trauma bond, and you're playing out, you're projecting your pain body onto somebody. Please save me. Please take the pain body that I didn't know how to deal with as a child. And then you do the same for them. It becomes this burden, and now both people are kind of carrying a burden in their energy field around that. But as that energy starts to evolve, and again, it can be very healing at first. It seems like, oh, this person listens to me. This person loves me. This person is never going to leave me. This person can save me or whatever. But eventually, again, as the soul wants to grow and evolve, it will and it's out of that love that it actually gives the safety for the trauma bond to come up, right? And usually whatever you're most afraid of in your childhood is usually what you end up creating as the energy kind of plays out. And so with the trauma bond also, you find a lot of addictive relationships. The relationships carry, the stronger the trauma bond, the greater the addiction that you might have to that person, whether it's over years of time or whether it's somebody you come in and out of or somebody you think about. So that trauma bond can be, have such depth to it that becomes literally like an emotional addiction. So, and that's not really going to be that healthy. It kind of gets in the way. And then when people want to do spiritual bypassing around it, they make up a story. Oh, that was my true love. That was this person who I'll never find someone like that again. These are soulmates, these are twin flames. And there does have to be a level of love for all these things to heal. And more than likely, you most for sure have had relationships with these people in past lives. And so there is a lot of significance. There is a lot of depth. There is a lot of familiarity. And there should be. That's okay. But if it's based out of the trauma bond, then what it does is it actually takes away from the unconditional and the higher love that's actually there. To really be acknowledged, where both people are sovereign beings and they're coming together more and they're knowing that they are deeply unconditionally loved and accepted as they are, versus having to be something for somebody, which pins us into roles that then we usually want to either run from. It kind of creates this running, chasing sort of phenomena, where somebody wants to run away and somebody wants to chase, but then you'll find that sometimes it's the opposite. The minute this person stops chasing, this person all of a sudden wants to chase and this person wants to run. So it's an interesting phenomenon with that. A lot of times what people say is, oh my gosh, how do I not recreate this, right? So this is how you don't recreate it again. For one, I'd highly recommend the one heart breath that we did with your own higher presence, just leaning in and allowing yourself to be held in that one heart presence and just saying to it, I choose you above all else, to your own higher presence. I choose you above all else, because that's just in right action. And when you choose that above all else, what you're really doing is you're bringing yourself back into a state of being a sovereign being, a sovereign, spiritually free being. And you start breathing into your heart and noticing the feeling tone in your energy field. So when you're honoring your feelings, so when you're connected to yourself, I'm going to say the one heart breath with your higher presence, which you can do anytime, anywhere. I would recommend doing it 3-4 times a day. It takes about 30 seconds, a minute. Hang out in it as long as you can. But as you're doing that, you're going to get better and better at listening to your feelings. And as you're listening to your feelings, you're going to notice if boundaries are being crossed, or if something doesn't feel good, or if something feels really great, and you'll start paying attention to it. When you're stuck in the pain body and the trauma body, you just keep creating more and more of that. But a big part of that problem is that you're not listening to yourself, right? So as you're healing that energy, you're listening to your feelings, you have better boundaries, you have more of a sense of what's in your own truth and your own energy field, and you're able to kind of go forward with that energy. And if you honor your feelings, which is literally your spirit communicating to you about what feels good and what doesn't, and you just listen to it and you honor it, then there's no reason for the pain body. The pain body only happens really when we're not able to honor our feelings, and we don't take action on our feelings. And then before long, we have these pain. And then as the pain body grows, we eventually want somebody to help us with our pain body, but of course that means we have to take on their pain body, which then creates a trauma bond. But if you just domino effect it backwards, then what happens is you just simply honor your feelings, knowing that you are, again, with your higher presence, you really want to spend time. I know I'm unconditionally loved and accepted from within my own higher presence. I know I deserve more and more unconditional love at all times, as does all of life. And when you keep using that as your formula of unconditional love, you're going to move from conditional love into unconditional love, which is a whole new technology. It's a whole new kind of consciousness, a whole new way of being. And the more you sit there, there won't be anything to plug into with the pain body, because it's not charged up with anything. You're really only now sitting in a love body, and it starts with this deep unconditional love for yourself, and then you'll find that when you're with other people, you have deep unconditional love for them in a way that you don't need to sell yourself out or go into these stressors. And when something does happen in life, like let's say a trauma or things happen, then you can breathe into your feelings and you can process through it. And one of the greatest ways I can suggest with that is doing the tapping. You can go to the World Tapping website. They do a great job. There's EMDR. There's all kinds of cool things you can do, but most of all, just breathing and staying true to yourself and honoring it. And that resolves it. And the more you keep doing the unconditional love and the one heart breath and stay in that and make that really kind of more of your daily routine, then it's going to continue to keep unwinding anything that might be there. And you're going to find that the things in your life that maybe have been issues start to also just continue to keep healing. Like, we're doing as much as we can in this one moment. It's a great jump start, divine intervention. It's putting you on the path. Now, the only other thing I would say is this meditation does go, because it's a divine intervention and we've got higher spirit beings backing us. That's part of what we call them. That based on your intention and how deep you went with it, when your pain body starts to integrate back into your love body, it has toxicity to it, emotional toxicity, which also can sometimes create physical toxicity. And so sometimes you might have cold or flu-like symptoms. Sometimes it can give you headaches or stomach aches. Sometimes you might have really intense dreams where you're working things out. I've gone from, right after the work I did earlier this week to seeing the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and all kinds of warring things. And then finally last night I dreamed that etheric surgery, my heart had been replaced, like it was, being redone on the etheric levels. So I've had really intense dreams. I have felt maybe worse than I've ever felt in a really, really long time. Just, oh my God, like I just want to die. I felt so bad with like a migraine and throwing up and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't have to be that way. I'm just saying, hey, my heart's been palpitating. But sometimes, depending on your sensitivity and how deep you're going, your system might actually start to detox. And it was over really in 24 hours or so. Like, it built up for a few days. It was really horrible for a day. The next day it was better. So, sleep it off, get acupuncture, take Epsom salt bath, drink plenty of water. You're not really going to die, but sometimes the ego and these parts of ourself feel like they are dying. These parts of ourself are dying, and you literally might go through kind of a grieving cycle with it too. So I'm just giving you a full spectrum heads up. You might feel awesome and great and ready, just, freer than you've ever felt before, because that will be the end result for sure on the other side of it. And then when you get into relationships, or if you're already in one, you'll be able to be just so much clean and clearer with it, in a way that you and the souls that you're working with are really able to be in this harmonic resonance with one another. So